Hello and welcome to my statistics final project and a poster presentation. My name is Akugu Joseph Avoka, class of 2024, computer science student at my sophomore year here at Ascension University. My research topic is the level of educational attainment in the Ghanaian society related to residential location. Based on this research topics, I've come up with the following research questions. Is the level of educational attainment among Ghanaians affected by their residential location? To what extent does gender influence this relationship? Past studies have been conducted about these particular research questions and then the following were made. Frimpong and Kuja established there is much preference for male education compared to female education, early establishing that the housing conditions affect literacy achievement, and Hernandez also establishing that there exists excellent gaps between urban and rural students, with urban students outperforming rural students in the case of Spain. So being challenged to provide statistical evidence to prove that indeed the level of educational attainment is affected by residential locations and perhaps gender also influences this relationship. I've decided to use Afrobarometer on 7 data survey in 2017 for my analysis. And then from that particular data, the number of participating subjects were 2,400, with effective response standing at 2,397 after I've collapsed all variables into the variables of interest for the analysis. That was the number that I came up with. Then from there, these were the data that I gathered from after collapsing my variables and then drawing the contingency table. I have, for instance, the level of education, different categories under that one. I have none, basic, high, standard, and then for the case of location, I had just two categories, local and then rural. And then I had to transform that one into a proportion table. And then doing that in this case, my location was my categorical explanatory variable, and then I had to calculate, and then it is what placed at the column level, so I had to calculate for the column percentages, and then these were the numbers I derived for that. Using the column percentages from the previous slide, I plotted a bivariate graph, and then from this bivariate display, you realize that we are having higher percentage of students from the urban centers achieving basic education. And then when we also come to standard education, we are having the bivariate graph also being a little slightly higher than the those in the rural areas, indicating that indeed there's difference when you compare location wise. Now, I had to moderate the gender influence on the relationship, and in doing so, realize that for each of the two different display of the graphs, um, the female, for instance, on the left hand side is the blue bar, and then the red represents the male bar. Then when we come to the right hand side, the female is the green, and then the male is the yellow. So you realize that for higher educations, just few of the females are able to do that. That is why you see just the male bar being very much higher in that case. And for the basic level of education, it's like parents normally make effort to send many of the females, but then maybe along the line hindrances might occur and then they are not able to make it. Perhaps that's the reason why we are having just many of the males attaining higher education than the females. In stating my claims, my null hypothesis states there is no relationship between level of educational attainment and a residential location, and my hypothesis states My alternative hypothesis is stating that there is a relationship between level of educational attainment and residential location. Then I had to perform the chi-square test for independence, and in performing that, my chi-square test was 53.701, and then the degree of freedom was 3, then my p-value was 1.299 times 10 raised to the power minus 11, which is very, very, very low when compared to a significant level of 0.05%. Based on this p-value, we can, and then considering a significant level of 0.05, the data that provides enough evidence to reject the null hypothesis that there is no relationship between the level of educational attainment and a residential location. That the null hypothesis is rejected, and a possible generalization could be made that the residential location of an individual in Ghana affects the level of their educational attainment. Against that background, we can make the following informed decision. Achieving higher education is largely dependent on individual responsibility. Raising residential location and gender do not influence that much in the case of higher education. Now, rural parents or guardians who are supposed to ensure children receive formal education do not prioritize childhood education as much compared to boyhood education. The direct opposite is true for urban parents or guardians. Males are more resilient in climbing the educational ladder than females. Cumulatively, we had 7.7% achieving standard level education as against 4.1% regardless of location. Thank you, and then these are my references.